Welcome. The escalation took very violent forms last night in Beirut. And as you mentioned in your bulletin, it was a very difficult night. Yes, there is another course of events regarding the escalation between the resistance and Hezbollah and Iran behind them. They started to take another form, which is missiles, focusing on missiles and drones more than the confrontation on the ground. From Lebanon, there is no attack against Israel through the fighters, but there are missiles that hit Israel in the depth. This is a new development in the recent days. So we are facing a new phase of this war. So I can definitely say that stopping the war at this point is not something that can happen.
So regarding the U.S. call for a 21-day ceasefire, is this still on the table? And will the Biden administration succeed in achieving a ceasefire in Lebanon before the presidential elections?
Perhaps they may succeed in achieving a ceasefire for humanitarian reasons, but halting the war is a different story. What I mean is halting the war. If Biden's administration could convince the Israeli side, because there are humanitarian cases in both Gaza and Lebanon, all of these things have to go in line with the Israeli interest, meaning that a ceasefire for certain days or for a number of weeks, the Israelis will think if this would harm them or not, or this would give a time scope for Hezbollah to take a breath and conduct other operations or to pose in strategic military sites. So it's related to the actions on the ground. Based on this, the Israeli response will come accordingly. Yes, Lebanon needs to breathe a little because the humanitarian situation in Lebanon is unbearable. So we hope this would happen. But all of this is conditional according to what the Israeli would do, because the Lebanese side is already ready for ceasefire.
Regarding the conditions of the southern suburbs of Beirut, has the shelling of it quieted down in the past 2 days?
No. Yes. The first day was calm, but last night was very violent because there were more than 9 raids in the southern suburbs of Beirut. They were very violent raids. It was a very violent night.
Okay, so in light of Hezbollah intensifying its strikes against Israel, could Israel perhaps withdraw due to these strong strikes from Hezbollah?
Israel has a bank of goals, and the same applies to Hezbollah. Both parties are working on achieving their banks of goals that they have already set up. The current strikes that we see are sufficient to force Israel to stop their aggression, and evidence to this last night was very violent because of the aggression. So the missiles launched by the resistance until today are not enough to stop Israel. But the continuation, who feels pain first, is the one who would call for a ceasefire. As long as Israel is internationally supported and as long as its budget, despite of the loss is supported, and I think Israel is more distinguished in the military side, why would they stop the war before achieving their bank of goals? Unless they receive a painful strike that would force them or would make Israel at that time stop the fire. But the actions of the resistance in Lebanon or Hezbollah, the support from Iran against the Israelis is not enough to stop the war, I mean.